suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be parted from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from bias, attachment, and hatred. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shaka clan. I prostrate in offerings and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the complete, perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shaka clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shaka clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans who were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise and I prostrate. With pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With a supreme sign, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the one gone to thusness I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the sublime community intending virtue I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3 ever devout homage. To all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms, and all aspects, with supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, the flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of false, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. From Tushitas, hundreds of gods, protectors are, to tip of this fresh, pure water, heaped curd like cloud, all of Samdrapa, Dharma's omniscient king, pray come to this place with your disciples. In space ahead are lion throne, lotus and moon, venerable gurus, smile brightly with delight. Pray stay hundreds of eons to spread doctrine as supreme method. Here for my right of faith, your wisdom mind sees full range of knowables. Your eloquent speech adorns fortunate ears. Your beauteous body, fame, glory, outstanding. Homage to you, worthwhile to think of, hear, and see. Pleasant and mind, which I have heaped up since beginningless time, especially what has contradicted three vows. Each I confess from my heart with strong regret. In time of strife you strove to learn and practice, shunned eight mundane concerns, made life essence full. O protector from depths of our hearts, we rejoice in your powerful great deeds. Venerable gurus from love and wisdom, clouds densely massed in your Dharmakaya sky, pray to serene vast profound Dharma on fields of disciples, just as and may it make venerable Lord Sandrapas essential teachings specially shine forever. Mig me segue chen racing, dream kempe wampo jam pelia, tu malu jam se sam chen kepe sugen song kapa, lok sandra pe shabla so wide. Oh, glorious and precious root Guru, pray take seat of lotus on my crown, caring for me with your great kindness. Bestow attainments of body, speech, and mind. O glorious and precious root Guru, pray take seat of lotus at my heart, caring for me with your great kindness. Bestow attainments common and supreme. O glorious and precious root Guru, pray take seat of lotus at my heart, care me with your great kindness, until supreme awakening remains steadfast. Homage to the exalted three jewels. Thus have I heard at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajagriha on Vulture Mountain, together with a great assembly of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of the countless aspects of phenomenon called profound illumination. At that very time the superior Abhishara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, was looking perfectly at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, perfectly looking at the emptiness of inherent existence of the five aggregate souls. Then, through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said to the superior Abhishara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, the lineage trained who wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom. Thus he spoke, and the superior Abhishara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, replied to the Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whichever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look perfectly like this. Subsequently, looking perfectly and correctly at the emptiness of inherent existence of the five aggregates also. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors of consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are empty, without characteristics, and do not cease. They have no defilement and no separation from defilement. They have no Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition, no factors, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no smell, no taste, no object of touch, no mental phenomena. There is no element and so forth up to no mind element, up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no cessation of ignorance, and so forth up to no aging and death, and no cessation of aging and death. Likewise, there is no suffering, no origin, no cessation, and no path. No exalted wisdom, no attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom. And because their minds have no obstructions, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond error, they attain the final state beyond sorrow. All the Buddhas who reside in the three times by relying upon the perfection of wisdom become manifested complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the equal to the unequal mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering since it is not false, should be known as the truth. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Tayata gate gate paragate parasam gate bodhi soha. Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva, a great being, should train in the profound perfection. And the Blessed One arose from that concentration and said to the superior Agni, the Bodhisattva, the great being, well said, O child, delineated, so it is. The profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced exactly as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the superior Agni, the Bodhisattva, the great being, and the entire assembly, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, Gandharvas, and others, were filled with admiration and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed. In the holy supreme abode of the Dakinis, possessed of clairvoyance and miraculous power, unwaveringly caring for practitioners as your children, homage to the hosts of the three places Dakinis. Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Soha. Through the power of the exalted three jewels speech, may all on the side of negativity such as the four Maras be stopped. May they become non-existent, and may they be pacified. All enemies, obstructors, and hindrances, Shanti Kuriye Soha. The 80,000 types of obstructors pacified, free from adverse harm. May all be conducive and perfect to well-being here right now. Sashi Boki Jushi Meto Tramri Rablingi Needed Gempati Sangye Chubarduda ke Kapsuchi, Daki Chunin ke Pesolamki, Chola Penche Sange Druparsho, Choda Kuki Chomnala, Jam Chubarduda ke Kapsuchi, Daki Chunin ke Pesolamki, Chola Penche Sange Druparsho, Choda Kuki Chomnala, Jam Chubarduda ke Kapsuchi, Daki Chunin ke Pesolamki, Chola Penche Sange Druparsho.
Good evening, everyone. Everybody have today walk? No one day off? No one retirement? Good. And you have walk, you have to do something then. You don't need to stay home or something. Body. It's a bore or body? Boring, nothing to do. And then think too many things. Then you have to walk, then always busy your mind and your body. It's good. If you're a very good participant, then you don't need to worry if your mind, your body is more relaxed. But for us, always try to do something, then mind focus that and not much to think. People taking the medicine, the drugs, to sometimes they say, calm down your mind. And that doesn't not real the help for them. They just look or say, shut down our mind, not much to thinking. Then finish it at the power, then same come back again. The mental problem is fixed from the mental thinking, not outside. The real medicine is the Buddha's teaching, our mental problems. We have a lot of problems, big problems, small problems. We say the people of the mental problem is doing something unusual, say something unusual, then it's a mental problem. But reality, we all have some mental problem. The Milarepa said that all the human beings, have some problem, crazy. The ordinary people say, oh, Milarepa is a crazy guy. Then who's the real crazy or not? Milarepa is development. We still here. Then Bodhisattva was watch for us, looking for sometimes they're laughing. How much I teach for them, still they don't understand, right? Kids worry us. Always parents, the teachers always take care, they teach for us. If something they teach for again, still kids doesn't understand, then sometimes we laughing at, what's going on with my kids? They don't understand. Same as us. Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, they're looking for us. Sometimes they're laughing. What's happened to them? But we heard a lot. We also know a lot, but the problem is we don't practice. This is the main problem. If you really practice, thinking, focus, like bodhicitta, maybe you can just a couple months, you can understand real. Oh yeah, there's something. Yeah, they will give you more calm down mind. Therefore, I think Buddha's teaching is the best mental medicine. Therefore, for study, then practice is very important. Then many people study, practice this religion. They all achieve enlightenment. They all have very high realization. You can see that in Buddhism masters, lamas, Geshe Rinpoches, when after they die, they when we fire cremate the body, cremate, then after they relax. There's very there's something unusual that happened. They show something that. Otherwise, do you guys heard anyone in the Western society people cremate after they find some unusual things in the devil? The bones, right? But also we don't know, right? I think here maybe the people they're taking before they die, taking the funeral home. They keep the body someplace. Yeah, Bali, Yeah, this is Buddhism is we at least keep the body in 3 days. Then we say people die outside, we can see it really died, but inside the mind is not yet gone. That's not everyone, but it is also happen. It's why not happen here in Tibet and the Lord? Why not happen in the Western side? Some monks, some Geshe, some Rinpoches, they pass away. We say, okay, now he today passed away. We say, but still 2-3 weeks in India, very hot temperature. It's 80 degrees. Without AC, his body doesn't change the color. They don't have any smarts. Even in other words, if we put the body, the really dry, the subtle amounts are gone, then we start to smell just one day. They show there's something. If you practice, there's something, Otherwise, we don't know who has more realization, who keep the land. As a bodhicitta, we don't know who has you guys have, or maybe someone else, but we don't know. But we can see many things too, some unusual things. They show something, there. Then, Buddha's teaching has never changed. Right now, what we call scientific technology. They say this year something, or this is the final. Next year they change. Oh, no, then this is the final one. Buddha's teaching, everything is impermanent. Even however is impermanent, never change. He said, who you born the samsara, solving. You always solving 3 part solvings. There's nothing changes. One day, they're born that they're not solving, not like that. They say you create the cause to negative karma. You create you get the result of problems, solvings. That never change. You create the positive karma. You get the positive actions, the happiness. All that never change. Usually we very surprise everybody. Technology, of course, technology is also very, very, special. But always change. They find some another thing. Therefore, Buddha's teaching never ever change. 2,500 years, he did it all. So that nothing to change. Therefore, it's very unique, also very stable. It's quite stable. It's very meaningful. It's useful. It's part of religion, also the part of the science, philosophy. We are very, very smart. We have many things here, our mind, but we not open. We not click our hard drive. Hard drive? Is correct? Hard drive, what is it? Hard drive. We save a lot that we don't open. We open the bad files. We don't open the good files. Right? We open the bad files, then all the wires coming there, then stop. But now we have to study how you open the good files. Then you open the good files, then never wires come in. You don't need to buy the, how you call it? Antivirus. Like that, Therefore, if you Buddha's teaching, you thinking, how much you thinking that we can go? They can dip, more dip, more dip. It depends on the person, Therefore, for study is very important. Then after you study or during the study, try to day by day, try to a little bit, and also examine a little bit our mind for our actions. Usually we don't examine for us, we examine all the time others, right? Either he doing something, she doing something, they doing something. Also we do always others gossip. We don't check, we don't examine for our mind. It's very important. Try to day by day, Buddha said, you're your teacher, you're your garden. So guide. Therefore, when not just study, not just listen, live that. Of course, you pray, prostration, circumambulation, offerings, you get merit. But main things you have to change your inside the mind. Like we put something on the stove, make tea or something. They come up. We have to turn on the light, or call in the heat, gas. Otherwise, we cannot do out that something. Maybe just something that not much. You have to turn off the gas, then all calm down, right? Like that. Our mind is very strong, very powerful. Therefore, slowly, not one day. If you do one day, then you not longer. You no longer do, how you say, continue. Here, now I come to the students here, some students always here. Some students, very, every single class come, then couple months. Then they will lost. Then one day they send back the books. I would like to donation this book. They means they are not enough to effort. Therefore, very important. Study Buddhism is main things stable, very important. Then effort, then very go continue, not too exciting, then stop, not like that. Continue slowly. Therefore, it's very important. Then one, Kadamba master said, very important to your faith, of your religion and your teacher. If you don't have faith, you don't have respect. If you don't respect, you don't study. You don't study, you don't learn. You don't learn, then you don't get any knowledge. Therefore, first you have to find to the teachers, then, very important to respect or very great Guru devotion. This is the teachers, the root of all the qualities. Therefore, that's very important. Then there's effort is very important. Without effort, you don't get any realization, right? Therefore, do the effort and meditation, dead impermanent, and about the laziness. Then there's a ego. Ego is very, very bad for your realization or your knowledge. If you have ego, then you don't get any knowledge because you don't listen to anyone, right? It's I know everything, Here, special also Westerns, they have some habit. Even they doesn't know that. It's doing some, I know. This is, I think, habit, Therefore, we don't need to, above the other people, you say? Above, abide, right? Yeah, abide with respect or say? Like, respect, lower the other people. People can see, you're lower the other people's knowledge. Right? You say you know, you say I don't know means you have not enough the knowledge, right? You say I don't know that. You don't want to show the people something, everything I know, Even you're doing something wrong, I say, oh yeah, I know, I know I'm going wrong, but I think this is a habit. Therefore, ego is very bad. If they say, stop the ego, respect others. The three, you have the, faith, your religion or your teachers, and effort, not ego, respect everyone. The three you have, if you Hinayana, if you Mahayana, if you Tantrayana, whatever you study, you become perfect. Right? Therefore, this Kadamba masters teach for us. It's very important. Ego is very bad. Therefore, this is like that. And I think everybody knows ego is bad, but we always say we have ego. Sometimes we don't know we have ego. Sometimes we don't know we're doing, if we don't check for us, therefore we don't know we have ego. Therefore, sometimes just check a little bit. Maybe always have, sometimes others fault, but not 100% always, all the time, every day. Maybe sometimes they do wrong. We never see that others fall. We fall. We always saw others fall. Therefore, they just, we don't check for us. Therefore, every day just a little bit exam. Check last, I don't know you guys, maybe usually people check in this country, especially they check a lot to the, how many pounds you have? Weight. Right? Like that. Check a little bit our mind, not body weight, okay? It's up or down, doesn't matter, Check a little bit our mind, like that. Then, you can see last year and this year how I'm changed. Like that, slowly. Then, study is very important. Then, without study, without knowledge, same thing you hand like that, then you're going to climb the rocky mountain. Right? You hand like this, you can climb the rocky mountain. You cannot climb, right? You cannot catch like that. Without study, without you hearing her, like that, then you cannot do meditation. Because you don't know how you meditation. The meditation means also not just you stay there someplace, not talking, maybe something like that, not thinking, not like this, not meditation, not like that. You need to something object, focus that, then familiarize this again and again. Like bodhicitta, you say, I'm going to bodhicitta meditation. That's what I wish to all sentient beings free from all the sufferings. Like that, this kind of mind, you can think again and again. Then you have to reason why I have to think that all the sentient beings, same as me, to wish to happy, wish to free from suffering. Then same as me, they all very kind for me. We believe for the limit, beginningless our lives. When we are born the human beings, most human beings, we need to mother. Therefore, we don't know who did my mother last previous life. We don't know who is my sister, who is my brother, who is my father. Therefore, we say all sentient beings did our mother. Therefore, the mother's same is how can't our mom this time. Something like that. They all very can't. Then who's really mom? They have, experience moms how they like the kids. If you're never mom, then you have not maybe idea. Anyway, like that. Then usually we Buddhism has, four scopes, four tenets. Everybody knows? Some people know, some people not. We study here. Then the I'm so sanji chumden degi. 다 출력들이야. 다 가는 산지 좀 되는 주대다. 아니 남아산지 주대다. 산지 단대감 네가. 아니 다 남아산지 주대 산지 좀 되는 다. 안 보고 쇼해 버렸어.
So these teachings of the Buddha, the Buddhism that we're studying, we're practicing now, came from Buddha Shakyamuni.
그러와 아니 시단 잠발린들이야. 다 가는 산지 다 동라치라지 이 벽이 와 버렸어. 너무 먼지가 빨라.
So it is said that in this fortunate eon, there will be 1,000 Buddhas coming into this world.
나다 산지 좀 되는데 다 산지 시와래 시와.
And Buddha Shakyamuni is the fourth one.
그래서 다 뒤에 땜받아 다는 거다 이제네. 산지 코나 쉬면 되나다. 코랑게 강성시에 다 땜받아 가면 이제네 가와서 모셔라레스.
So even though we have not met with Buddha Shakyamuni at that time when he came in this world, but we are very fortunate to meet with his teachings.
근데 다 되게 산지 좀 내에 주대 간에 생활세가 있나? 아니 다 로니 동업제 거나 산지 좀 내세야지 다 말아서 나시 담보 보거든요. 다 보시지. 아니 공게 제가 나지게 동하던 돈에 아니 다 로트도 냠레체네 다 산지 공방에서 도와야 말이지.
So how Buddha Shakyamuni came about is it's about 2,500 years ago. He was born as just like us, he was born, and then later seeing the sufferings of birth, the aging, sickness, death, and then through renouncing this life and engaging in the practice for 6 long years, then he finally achieved enlightenment.
아니 다 집으려면 간제 샘 녀모도 잡아. 다 자수말해서 간제 샘 녀모도 잡아라.
So when we say enlightened, that means the mind is separated from all the delusions.
아니 시자라 루리지 바단 제중 도매 야도 가는 다 마시와다 하모지 메어레스 산지 좀들라.
So when we say fully enlightened, also it means that somebody who knows everything. So there isn't any obstructions at all. Nothing is obscured to him, and he knows everything.
근데 전에 코 안에 배다 시위가 참 종알아야 쇼게 다 산지와 말했어. 산지 고마서.
And it is said that on the full moon day of the fourth month, the fourth lunar calendar, he achieved enlightenment at dawn.
아니 근데 그다 공고 던차 되지라 아니 주마선에다 쇼게 봐 말했어.
So after he achieved enlightenment, he didn't teach for 7 weeks.
아니 전에 다 아니 라이에네 라이온 보자지는 저거다 막 그냥 산지 다 주소라는데 요새는 이 와르나서 바쁘네 다 강사 신고가 되라야 아니 다 담보 대지 친구서 송이 말했어.
And so the gods knew that Buddha would not teach unless he was requested. So then they made a request to the Buddha by making offerings and so forth. They requested Buddha to teach, and then he went to Varanasi and met with his first 5 disciples and taught the Dharma there for the first time.
아니 딘디 강상하도 다 사실 좀 되는데 개왕 한마도 더 코너서 개왕 한마도 원래 다 파주야. 아니 저거 쉬고 요하다 말들었어.
And so seeing that they have a strong connection with him, who are eligible or who are suitable to be his disciple, and he went to teach them. And of course, they had the connection with Buddha in many lifetimes before he became Buddha.
그리고 배는 간조 된다 가서 늘지 다 지시가지 중도님아 저던 간로도 빨아야다 기왕 하마던데 내가 뭐 여기 따로 그래서.
And so same here, we are sort of gathered together here, discussing about the Dharma. It's a sure sign that we had some connection in the past.
Right. Usually here, the very developed country, also all of you very high knowledge people, right? I am born the Tibetan nomad, without any knowledge place. It's correct? Any knowledge place. Come here now, something to talk. Oh, you guys. But this is, not knowledge, but we have very something strong, very connection for our previous life. What that didn't by that teaching any that any Sanji Jum in the Chusosaka Dejala, and then also Titama, she says,
and so when Buddha taught the teachings to the disciples, there came different disciples with different mentalities, and so forth. And so then he taught many different tenets. So there came 4 different tenets that he taught.
That the condition Kansa Susugo, Sambata, Muba, Telateneta, Tamara, she must remember it.
So then, these 4 different tenets, 4 different schools of thought came about, because of different mentalities and dispositions of the different, disciples or practitioners.
And Sanji Jum is a top girl that Twitch and Boy, but the Chazala Yachik, Tawa Chik, Chibazoina, Tangazo, Gaza Chazon, something matter, and that doesn't you move it, Pentoto was.
And so because there are different people, with the different interest and different belief, different way of understanding and so forth. So Buddha was very skillful to teach in different ways like that, with different thoughts of schools. If he were to teach, everybody same thing, then it would not benefit others, who will not understand that. So he taught according to their level of understanding, their mentalities.
And Sanji Jumden de Pena, Sungo in the way, Sanji Jumden de Pena, Matabeco Songoyana, Tenji Site, Koala Tene, Kashiki, Damebacona, Damebacondava. Shanju with some cocoa and Shanju and cocoa under Kana Sukari, Condovata, and Condovers.
And so even though he's teaching one subject, but different people can hear different kind of subject according to their level of needs. So whatever they need to understand, that's what they're going to hear. So even though he's teaching about impermanence, and those who need to hear about bodhicitta will hear about bodhicitta, or those who need to hear about the selflessness, they will hear about selflessness. Like that. So this is one of the Buddha's, the quality of Buddha's speech, that even though he teaches one thing, but different people will hear different things.
And
so because of the different people that he taught in different ways, therefore there came 4 different thoughts of schools.
What are they? The sinner no? Yeah. Good. 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 You know him? Good. Everybody know how many people knew this word? You guys knew, right? The senior students know. We teach here many times, but that's good. 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 We teach a couple years ago. That time you here? No, you're not? Oh. Only you, Andy. Yeah, we teach. Maybe we have to study again that. Yeah. It's good. Only, but do you see? He's still no. What that thing is that I was going to was thing is that Tambo and the Katambo Chingo Seva.
So the first teaching that Buddha gave on the Four Noble Truths the disciples who were listening to those teachings were the proponent of the Vaivashika and Sautantika tenets.
아니 사실 좀 내가 깨리 만나고 만보고 송거를 바지 티켓에 바지 빨리 깨가 나서서 그래서 담보송에.
So Buddha also, of course, can teach in many different languages, and the first language that he used to teach was, I think, is Pali language.
아니 뒤에 때마다 다 대상하서 테메사이 놓아서 오다 대레스로 하니. 지잖아요.
And so the teachings that Buddha taught at that time is well known as the Theravadan teachings. So that's according to the tenets or the view of Vaivashika and Sautantika, and the teaching that was taught was about the Four Noble Truths. And so all these teachings of the Buddha, whether they fall under the category of the Hinayanas or the Mahayana, they're all included in the Four Noble Truths. So you know what are Four Noble Truths, right?
Good. Four Noble Truths is the main root of the Buddha teaching. The Mashiach. What is it? That is Shumatalaya and Kula Pawasa, the Sumaris. Tell that they were Chimdajaris, Oma Pasted.
And then that was the first turning of the wheel of Dharma, and then during the second turning of the wheel of Dharma, or the middle, the turning of the wheel of Dharma, he taught about the perfection of wisdom sutra. And so that is mainly for the Mahayana practitioners. So the disciples of that teachings were the Mahayanists.
And then Kolo Tama, and Yambajan somewhere, then Kolo Tama, did Jate so symptoma, that they were watching much of theirs.
So the second turn of the wheel of Dharma, which was taught in the Vulture's Peak, right? And then the last or the third turn of the wheel of Dharma was taught in a place called Vaishali, and that one actually is also Mahayana teachings also.
What is it?
So that is according to the schools of thought of the Mind Oneness school. And among these four tenets, the last two, which is the Mind Oneness school and the Madhyamika, the middle way school, they both are considered as the Mahayana school.
아니 다 시라마보다 너대원이가 다 대화 침모하지나 아니 따와도 시원이 이건 다 지금 뭐여래서.
So the Vaivashikas and Sautantika, those are the Hinayana, Hinayana tenets, and usually, what is Mahayana and what is Hinayana. Mostly, it's usually, distinguished by the conduct, by the thought, not by the view. By the conduct, not by the view.
아니 다 샘점았나 아니 오마와니가야 아니 다 시당 시외군의 집안에 맞지요. 집안으로 다 망한제 집안에 다 따위군의 대처해야 되죠.
Even though the Chittamatrin, the Mind Only school, and the Middle Way school are same being the Mahayana school, but they are different in terms of the view.
아니 오마와사들의 오마와니요래서 오마 탄저와서 오마 안저와서 니샹요 받쳐요래서
And also in the Madhyamika school, there's Savatantika, Madhyamika, and Prasangika Madhyamika. So two different kind of Madhyamika or the middle way schools.
아니 콘이라 아니 시외군의 치와요 말해서 따위군 말하거래서.
And so they are also different. The difference between these two are also in terms of the view, not in terms of the conduct.
다땡은 노쇼 주시거든. 나사에도 파지다 태맥일로 파지 송여서 말했어.
And so this is from the Sutra point of view. From the Tantric point of view, there's no the Tantric teachings taught to the Hinayana schools.
그래서 대상은 테라바라 나라야 아니 마그냐면서 돼. 파지요 말했어.
So because it is all based on the bodhicitta, the Mahayana thought, therefore there is no Tantra teachings in the Theravadan schools.
근데다 단다야나 양복이 다른도 야나도 다 도와라 양안도 배외가 남비 주대 산지 주는데 소 말에서 나한테 소 말에서 다시 그런 소샤지를 했을 때니 딱 교양에 뭐 요래서.
And because of that, that is one of the reasons because of which many Buddhist countries like Thailand, Burma, or even some part of China, say that that Tibetan Buddhism is not real Buddhism.
이번에는 다다나가도 탈랜다 벌마당가도 데려왔던 소리야. 내외가 냠네데 사여서 내외 냠네데.
But according, the practice of the Vinayas, especially the Vinaya practice, is very, very good or amazing, within these Buddhist countries like Thailand, Burma, and so forth.
나나 좀더 따도 아니 그냥 괜히도 마치 공전하게 그래서 봐다. 내외가 샬레 나나지 샬레 따는 거도. 나는 칼라도 쇼로라야 롱겐도 된게 지금도 왔어.
So, so in these countries, the monks, the ordained people, they follow the Vinaya rules very strictly. Like nowadays, you see that they always stop eating, after the noon, and then also, they always go out, for alms. They don't like, own food or cook and so forth. So this is according to the teachings, the rules of the Vinaya or the moral discipline.
근데 원아야 빠자디 다 많이 바지 뭐다 배배 남바다 집어 마좀 집어 자기 그래서.
So in terms of the precepts to be kept, in the Vinaya teaching, that is taught in the Thailand, in the Theravada schools and in the Tibetan Mahayana school, is about same.
어디 타이나야 당도 배배게 남배게 쇼라야 시단 대변념 야보시라 레스이나 다 콘도 티바 나징아 다 뒤도면도 와서 다 마지 뒤도 말해서 생각이 뒤도 와서.
And so the Vinaya rules, the teachings, of the moral discipline, especially taught for the monks and nuns, for the ordained practitioner, is carried very strictly in those countries. But it doesn't mean that the Tibetan the Sangha community don't have those kind of Vinaya rules. There is, but it's kept or is observed according to the tradition, according to the culture, and so forth.
당군에 내가 체체도다 비우티거다 강기티거 와서 야디다 나도 딱 알아서 근데 제주도 거든요. 야한테 그 영화도다 그다 지금 말해서.
So there are, even among the vows, there are the primary vows and then the secondary vows and so forth. So the primary vows are more important than the secondary vows. So so that's the difference between the importance in terms of the importance of this different kind of vows. So those that are very important, or those that are primary vows, those are very kept very well in Tibetan tradition also.
What is the 어떤 일이 되는다. 어떤 만수 배획이 다는 남이 줄었다. 너당 아닌가. 다 냠내 하정기 죽지 못하게 그래서.
And so in Tibetan Buddhism, we have both sutra and tantra very strongly flourished.
안에 대가 안에 단 너대 그래 나대 안에 선지 좀 되다랑 송을 해서.
So all these teachings of the sutras and tantras are all taught by Buddha Shakyamuni himself.
그리고 denriga ani ta chu jipade ani lower boche ita anu pela pa ta ki so da dene short ni ta tomo tu pa no wa imbarero.
And so it is the Padmasambhava, Guru Rinpoche, Padmasambhava, who actually brought the teachings, the lineage of the tantric teaching into Tibet.
안에 lower 가로 lower shiva 조기 단 대외기 냠니다 파
And the scholar, Master Dharmarakshita, mainly brought the teachings on the Vinaya in Tibet.
어떤데 간지 맞에 다 남백이 주나라 너도 마다 대화 제중 하다 제가 차당이 냠내 제요 그래서.
And so in Tibetan Buddhism, there's all these teachings of the Sutra, Tantra, the Mahayana, Hinayana to be practiced.
어떤데 다 그래서 너다라고 저도 하고서 와서 가지가지 마치가 하고 그랬나다 미스 그리고 다음 저 싸워서 나도 저한테 하고 뱅으로 와서.
So most of you have already known about this, but some of you who have not might be of some benefit if you hear this and understand about the differences.
Right. what Tangan Dodon Hanyas, Dodon Hani Chavatayan, that's Madawa, that's what.
And then there's a difference between the sutra and tantra, right?
And it Tawado shaving on the Chavajo, and it Taving on the Chava mess and do shooting and do Lusona, and it Taving on the Chava mess like this, yeah. Not to pay in by now, Kajikashigi, and Taving on the Chava used like this.
So the difference in between the sutra and tantra, the difference is not by a view. Again, it is by the conduct, right? So in terms of the view, they're the same. So both the view that is exerted by the sutra is also exerted by the tantra, and so they are same in terms of that. But there are some, again, in Tibetan Buddhism, there are different traditions of Tibetan Buddhism also, right? So some tradition says there is also a difference in terms of the view.
The Tangan Dodon Chivaka Banatan, do you got another Shansuka Sim Jella Chiva, Nije Jella Shiva, Shamba Jella Shiva, that to Gongo was the money Suzu Semjitical Pajogo, the Tushin was.
So in the sutra practice, we have the practice of the view and the conduct both, and the view is the view of the emptiness or selflessness, and then the conduct is it's like the bodhicitta, loving kindness, compassion, all this conduct, right? So there is you have to generate that in your mind, so your mind, the part of your mind has to transform into that thought, of compassion, bodhicitta, or the realization of emptiness, selflessness, so forth, right?
다 나가 냠을 세대 투스 말했어. 나가 냠을 세대 다 단단가서 그래요. 가서. 다 레벨을 삼로 다니 다 저도 냠을 제거로 와서. 레벨 산지 공발을 삼로 다니 다 가로 저도 되고 와서. 너 갑서. 나가 가서 다 레벨 코나 다 롱오시네. 다 투스 제거로 와서. 그렇게 해줘서 왔다.
So from that point, there's very similar in the practice of the tantra also. So in the tantra also you practice all these things, right? So you practice bodhicitta, you practice the emptiness and the view of emptiness. So the difference is that you practice the cause to achieve the result, right? In sutra, whereas in tantra you you bring the result into a cause to achieve that result in the future.
그래봐. 답변한 것도 도메이 냠는다고 했잖아. 도마세대 다도 너도 많이 안 돼요. 그래서 아니 도메기 다 나중에 하들래 봐나. 아니 수준 냠들래 사기 아니 산에 고수준 조간데요. 도마랑이 이제 라마트 위에 가야 봐. 아니 수수 당간도 고노 가 대요. 아니 도메 꾸응이 봐. 아니 수수 왕도 쉬자는 수수양 도메 콜라 봐 주네. 아니 냠는 저 두신 제거를 들어.
So like you might have heard the term they use that taking the result into a path, rather taking the result into a path. The result is the result, and that result that you're going to achieve in the future, you take that very result into a path to achieve that result, that actual result in the future. And so, for instance, when you engage in the practice of the, let's say, Tara Tantra, right? Tantric practice, based on a deity Tara. So once you have received the initiation, then you are empowered to generate yourself as the Tara. Right? So the Tara, state of Tara that you're going to achieve in the future, you generate that right now at this time, and then use that, to do the practice, to leave the imprint in your mind, to achieve that Tara, that state of Tara in the future, quickly in the future. And so there you generate yourself as the Tara, and you visualize the place that you are in, as the mandala of the Tara and so forth.
내가 가서 빵지 줘 다음에 나지 돼. 다음에 나다 셴바니 그냥 가 가서 나 머리 인도 삼대와 있나 아니 가오냐는 형. 나 머리 인사be 삼바도 나와도 셴바니가 밤에 왔지네. 다 지도 좀
And so one of the main abandonment in the practice of the Tantra is the ordinary appearance and grasping, right? And so oneself appearing as the ordinary person and grasping or clinging in this case would be thinking that I am an ordinary person, right? So seeing oneself as an ordinary person and thinking that I'm an ordinary person, thinking like that is abandonment. So you have to abandon that, and then you have to think, you have to see yourself, in the form of the Tara, like in the case of Tara, or you can do all this with the different deities, but currently talking about Tara. So you see yourself as a Tara, and then you think yourself as a Tara. You have to have this strong belief that you are a Tara. So that's when you have to abandon that thought of thinking yourself as an ordinary person.
Right? It's more confused. It's confused, but 다 된대로 오지 간지 내가 양다시다 아니 냠슬에 유명한 샤세 지어서 봐. 너도 막 제와셔는 내가 양다와셔.
So that's the difference between the practice of the sutra and tantra, where you take the result into the path in the practice of the tantra.
봐. 근데 안들어나 안에 아까로 어서 동반인데 저 주담제다 소준제 아니 시야단네 아니 시야상 동반인데 동빙안에 되네야질 제가다야 야트 라마다야 트 아다야 트 소소야 엔다다라니 바지야 좀네 어떻게 없는 소송하고 얘기 가서 얘기를 지도 맞지도 같은데 요 말이지.
So, and again, when you do the practice of the Tara, like the self-generation or generation of the Tara, generating oneself as a Tara, at that time, the basis on which you transform yourself into the Tara is the realization of emptiness, the understanding of the emptiness, right? It is not you just become like a Tara, but that very mind which understands the emptiness transforms into the Tara. So that's why at the beginning of every tantric practice, there's a meditation on emptiness, right? So like it says, everything becomes empty. And then from the state of emptiness, and arise in the form of a Tara, with one face, two arms, green color, so forth, right? So all this show that it is done on the basis of realizing emptiness or selflessness. So when you think about emptiness, and at the beginning you have to think about emptiness, right? So you say everything becomes empty. So then you have to think that nothing is existing from its one side. Everything is empty of existing in a way it appears to me. So like that. So that very mind, which thinks that, right? And when you think about that, that thought has to be so strong that you almost feel like nothing is there, even conventionally, right? Ultimately, of course, there's nothing there, but even conventionally, there's nothing there, so nothing is there. Right? So everything dissolves into that mind, seeing nothing there, right? And then from that state of emptiness, and then it says from that state of emptiness means that very mind which understands the emptiness transforms into the form of the deity.
Okay, come kill it, and then dodo ngani jana ta shitan ngati saji chewa 말했어, 사지 chewa. 맞대 chewa 제대로 가는다야. 배나 놀러랑도 탑세 지다 히랍 가만히 넣어서 아니 나가르라 아니 히랍 동반이 또 별로 더 아니 탑다 다 탑신 거 예메스 탑다 히라니 다 시버직 사도 요래서 근데 인자 쇼대 체야 니바대 체야 되는 인사 보스.
So and then because of that, also it is said that the practice of the tantra is more powerful than the practice of the sutra, and the reason is also because you can combine both method and wisdom. In the practice of tantra, you can combine both of these, method and wisdom, in one practice, and then you can do that. Whereas in sutra, these two are different: the realization of emptiness, and then generating the mind of enlightenment, or the bodhicitta, or generating a compassionate mind. Those are different, right? So you can't do both, and you can't combine both at the same time. And so you do one at a time separately. Whereas in the tantra, you combine that from the state of that very understanding of emptiness, transforms it into the deity, which is the method aspect of the practice, right?
Oh, it's complicated, right? And the tending how nyamne chewala, and then do nyamne ngen sumena how nyamne cheyo mares.
So, so because it is based, on the realization of emptiness, based on the motivation of bodhicitta, therefore these are all practice, that is done in the sutra, right? So you have to have the practice of sutra in order to do the practice of tantra.
근데 이제 간제 수트레스 but college is on the sutrachi. High school is on the karo. Kanji college is on the any magnamnich. And it done Toram Lota, the high school was on the doing yam never channel what is. The nether Tendiga doing yam lemala, I show you more.
So Sutra is like the high school and Tantra is like a college. Without going to the high school, you cannot go to college. Just like that, without engaging in the practice of the Sutra, you can't practice the Tantra.
Right? Now you without go to the kindergarten, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then you cannot go to high school, right? Same like that. And then that chung don't ding lam yam chaso masomala, that in the Android Maris, right?
So the three different scopes, the practice of three different scopes, right? Or three different capable beings, or the three different scopes. So the small scope, medium scope, and great scope. That's what we call, right? And so without the small scope, there's no way you can get into the practice, engage in the practice of the medium scope. Without the medium scope, there's no way you can engage in the practice of the great scope.
Then the great scope of the answer that they were chimbo, Tanyam was. And they shambad in it. They were chumul up sugar, and they were maybe yamling on the lap sugars.
And so the small scope, medium scope, and the great scope. The great scope is the Mahayana practice, and the medium scope is the Hinayana practice, right? And then the small scope, is just for the for the future life, right? Just for the future life, just to have good future life in the future.
That's
still samsara. And so you know the practice or the different thoughts, motivations, of the different scopes, right?
Okay, good. Okay. Yes. Good.
Okay. You said that the difference in the various tendencies was the difference in practice, not view, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But
in tennis is the view.
Is the view, right? But yeah.
Yeah, there's both of them. Yeah, both.
Because then, as I remember it, people just said they're wrong. Selfishness of phenomenon, selfishness of person. What people, he said, people who practice this say this, but they are wrong because, and then they go on to give me a different view. So it really isn't. Is it really a difference in view, or is it the same view with a different interpretation?
아무네 개발 여러 번. 그다 코너 찍들 내내시고 때 말에 내려서인데 야 때도마 대야 야도 오라. this is one 다 지단 소소 이제 교단계 개발하기 오늘 그런 개발 열었어.
오늘 따와 개발 열었어. 오늘 따와 도미 개발 열었어.
So no, it's not just an interpretation, there is a real difference there. In terms of these different schools, there is a different views, yes.
그래서 나 아니 다 대화 침보고 동만이가 따와서 던져고 아니 대화만 봐. 지난번도 받은 딱 그래. something to 말이야. 루이 책을 말했어.
So when you think about, like the selflessness of phenomena and the selflessness of person, selflessness of phenomena, this is a difference in terms of the object, right? So when you think about the selflessness of person, and it can make sense. When you talk about phenomena, everything that exists, then it doesn't make sense to many people. It's very difficult for them to understand. So to them, Buddha said, no, there's no selflessness of phenomena. There's only selflessness of person, because they cannot understand it. If they were forced to, it would not benefit them. So to them, Buddha said there's no selflessness of phenomena. Makes sense?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. 그런데 나 그때 다 간주 그들로 처음 말다 간주 따와들 나와는 그들 진다 여 말때 좀 말해서 진 그거 걔네도 말했어.
So they couldn't, in other words, they couldn't digest it. So they will not be able to understand. They will not be able to take it and accept it. So they will not be able to digest it. So if you force them to do that, then it will only harm them. No, it will not benefit them. And so skillfully, Buddha said, no, there's no phenomena. There's no selflessness phenomena.
간지 주대주 덴바트가 덴바마드나 매도그래서 그러서때 딱 걔네들 매도그래서 덴바트와 요원 집발에서 그도 걔네들.
And then same with the true existence, the true existence. So there's nothing exists truly, right? If it exists truly, then it should exist, from its own side. It's something like that. So, but for many people, it is difficult to understand that things do not exist truly. Yeah? So to them, Buddha said, yes, things exist truly. If they don't exist truly, then they don't exist at all. So if they exist, they have to exist truly. So existing conventionally, yet not existing truly. How can you posit something like that, right? There's no such thing like that. Right? See, you seem to be digesting that. So it's existing conventionally, yet not existing truly, So how can there be such things like that, right? It can't be, And so for those people, then Buddha said, no, there isn't a lack of true existence. Everything has to exist truly.
Okay, well, I understand what you're saying, but then it seems like you tell the truth maybe.
No, if you tell the truth, then 당번에 대답하잖아. 아니 강사 망보지 다 그래요. 산지 좀 되겠다. 노도가 말까. 로바치 도가 말. 대해서 그래서 사만하지라고 그래요.
So if you teach them the truth, they will not be able to digest it, right? And so the Buddha taught them whatever they will be able to digest. And then once they get used to that food, then they apply it. They give them different food, You get used to that. And then say, okay, you can add this one on that. So when you understand that, and then you contemplate on that, then later when he teaches in this way, then they will understand it. So if they were taught this straight at the beginning, they will not be able to understand. So first he said in this way. And then later, oh, no, this is not like that, it's like this. And then he explained the truth.
Now even the scholars, Buddhist scholars, and what little I know about them, they're still arguing these things, right? They're still trying to disprove.
Oh yeah. The monastery go to all the time debate. They find all the time debate. The different views, different ideas. It's good, Buddha is very
Skillful.
Very skillful for the teaching for others. For example, we hear that we said someone new people come in, we talk very, very, and they never heard things. Then when we talk about them, they're just hard to difficult. They accept understand it. First come here, just listen, sometimes up, sometimes down, many things together. Then slowly, they say, oh, yeah, there's some different. Therefore, slowly, Buddha, the reason is he teach for three different, because three different views.
So, like you said, among the scholars, there's many different scholars, and scholars who propound the views, of the Savatantика Madhyamika school, and then Savatantika Madhyamika school, and then the Prasangika Madhyamika school. They are like almost the final ones, right? So they have different views, right? And so one says, things exist inherently. The other says don't exist inherently at all. Even though they both accept that things don't exist truly at all. But again, even though there's a truth exists, but it has to exist, even though it doesn't exist truly, but it has to exist inherently. If it doesn't exist inherently at all, then it doesn't exist at all. Things like that. So like you might have heard, great scholars like Baba Viveka and like Chandakirti, and so there, and then Buddha Palita, and so all these different great scholars, great scholars, from who compose all these different texts. And then there came like all these different commentaries, like the commentated teachings of the Buddha, and so commented by these great scholars. So even among them, there's huge debate about these different views. So there's many amazing stories about these great scholars.
If you go to more high the view and a lot of debate, it's just very small things that will make difference. Even you said some word that make different things. It's a lot of debates. But we just talk about a little bit outside. We just outside a little bit around, even then difficult. But anyway, yes.
Is it possible to make it easier, like the ultimate and the conventional, so that you don't have so many different levels in between? For instance, you mentioned the using the emptiness idea, I can develop the the wisdom. So actually, this I heard that there are some thing is to destroy the solid voidness. So the emptiness is not nothing. It's because nowadays the universe proven even the space is full of many unseen stuff and energy.
So what was the question?
The way you said the emptiness, I mean that is more like conventional. It's not really, really. It is actually it's not completely voidness. You know, it has something there. It is dangerous to focus on nothing. I think that's something about the ultimate teaching like that.
내가 또 동반이라도는 동반이라 진짜 매발하여 말았어. 매발아 믿어서 먹고 매발을 거르고 그랬어. 매발아 제 매발. 배는 가서 다 당보문에 동바 검도는 다지 매발 이제 다 랑원 가서 랑원도 매발자 마스 그런 거는 매발하고 자. 신앙계로 오지 차야죠라. 뒤고 거는 매발하고 지 삼다돈 되네 거 시간도 기그라. 맞아 지금 그런 제 랑원 매발아서 그거 다가 숙심 먹고 말아. 나 신앙계다 직접 뭐지. 제 뭐 말다. 디 누군데 원전은 다 지나들에 끼고 오라. 동원에 거는 돈이 딱 거하러 냐 봐이나. 내려 그거 알아. 심마도 지금 아도 랑원도 배워마 라바탐 그도 다 갔어. 원은 거 동반인 게 도마라 가보라. 당분한다. 다직 당고 다직 하고 사서는 다 되네. 동반인 거는 거라 랑원도 배워서 되네. 거는 거 하고 살아. 또 당보도 거는 거라 직 가서 다녀도 야 말에 삼사되네. 삼을 좀 막게나 내용 말았어. 그냥 듣게 봐이나. 그냥 지금 차탈롱도 냥가 알았어. 나가잖아.
말타몽아도 다니데 예 말삼전한테네 가서 채나로 그랬어. 나랑 나나지 매서 다 뒤는 거. 나랑 나나지 매 연종 요래서마다 드리고 와라고 그랬어. 그래서 나나지 매.
So of course it doesn't, the conventional truth and ultimate truth they are related, right? So even conventional truth is also ultimate truth. And then ultimate truth is also conventional truth. Does that make sense? So this table exists conventionally, right? This is conventional table. The table is conventional, right? Yet it is empty also, right? So that's there's both in the conventional truth and ultimate truth. They both are there, right? So that's what I mean. So in reality it's like that, but for us to see like that, it's very difficult, And so first, when you think about the emptiness of the table, if you think about the table, while you're seeing the table, it is really difficult to think that it is empty. Right? It's really empty, So when usually, when you think about it, if you open your eyes, you can't really think about that, So you close your eyes and then you just contemplate on that thought that there's no table. There's no table exists from its own side, right? So that's the thought you should know. Of course, it's not saying that there's no table at all. There is a table, but there's no table existing from its own side. So when you think about that, your thought, it has to go so deep into that, thinking that there's no table existing from its own side, that you almost feel like there's no table at all. And that is the reason why people at the beginning, when they understand emptiness, when they realize emptiness, they generate this fear. That's the sign that they're understanding emptiness. So, there's the stories of these great, masters or practitioners, when they think about themselves, as being empty of inexistence, they almost go into the state where they think of themselves like not at all there, and then they get fear, and then they suddenly feel like holding it somewhere to. Like, oh, I'm not there, So suddenly there's a story of a monk, holding to his piece of ropes, So that is a good sign actually, of understanding emptiness. And that's what they say. And so at the beginning, it's good like that. But of course, if you if you think that all the time, that those things doesn't exist at all, then of course you might fall into the state of nihilism again. So that's not good. So of course, it's not saying that doesn't exist at all. But to think that you transform into such and such deity while you're thinking of yourself in this state body is really difficult. So at that kind, in that sense, you dissolve everything into emptiness, and then from the state of emptiness, then you arise in the form of the deity like that.
So the emptiness is actually, can say the Dharma, the Dharma Dhatu, right? You can better describe it as a emptiness.
Yeah, so Dharma Dhatu, means the state of reality. So the reality, right? And so the reality is that things do not exist from that one side, and that's the Dharma Dhatu reality. Yeah.
And also, it's about the condition nirvana and the Buddha's nirvana. So the arhat, they achieve the an ultimate nirvana. They still will get into samsara eventually. That's why, because they have maybe completely go to the voidness or just nothing there. So some people can just become a rock, sit for thousands of years, like that kind of stuff.
So usually, the 하전이다 하면 안 되고 다 그러. 다 대시하는 것도 생각보다 그것은 이렇게 올려야지 뒤에 말아 가와래.
단다 태명이나 다주면 고마토나 아니 다 되게 도연 다들어 도와요 말이지. 아니 그러라 그래서.
So you're right, that when you achieve liberation, the arhats, when they achieve liberation, then you become arhat when you achieve liberation, and you can remain in that state, and in the state of liberation for eons. So usually when we talk about the arhat, they call it the arhat with residue and arhat without residue. So the residue means like the residue of this body, the contaminated body that you have. You still have the residue of that body, that contaminated aggregate, and that's why it's called the arhat with the residue. And arhat without the residue means the arhat who have passed away from this life. So they have abandoned this body. The body is cremated or buried, and they go into into the next next life. But they're free from that. So they're free from the birth and all these things. So once you have achieved arhatship, then you will never come back. So the difference is that one with the residue and one without the residue. So that means that's still alive with that body, with that contaminated body. You achieve that in that very lifetime. So as long as you are alive, you still have that body. Then when you die, then you no longer have that body, but your mind is already liberated from all the samsaric sufferings. So that is in the Hinayana or Theravadan school. As they said, that is where you achieve. That's the ultimate achievement. But according to the Mahayana school, then that's not the ultimate achievement. Even though you have freed yourself from cyclic existence and you have abandoned the delusions, but you haven't abandoned all the obstruction to knowledge. You have deluded obstructions, you have abandoned them, but you still have obstruction to knowledge, to abandon. And therefore you still have to do practice, And so when you have abandoned all that, then you become fully enlightened.
Okay, good. Now it's terms of But anyway, I've talked this, you guys, usually I say, we call more serious students, also high education. Therefore, we have to talk a little bit all Buddhism view, how many difference, then therefore the reasons there, okay? Now we have 42, okay? Tan Duma Talas, Dumas, Tala Tashi Chibit, Chimi Sado, Tukandre by Lengan Tajalonga, Tana, Kanaga, Nuluzama Shas, Tande. I should look at some shady by the Shasra.
So in the verse 42 in the Wheel of Sharp Weapon text, verse 42. So when I despair As soon as I have sat down and reflected, it is the weapon of my own evil deeds turned upon me for shamelessly flitting about from one new friend of high status to to another. From now on, I shall be serious about my friendship with everyone.
근데 간지다 수수고 로정도 제로와 근데 진이다 수수 마데는 수수선아 따지 제와이나 아니 수수 요제거든 용거래 해서 수수 제당은 요제어노로
So the moment you sit down and think about oneself, then you feel regret about oneself.
저도 용도에 do you have good 그래와 아니 다들 간조 가디나 로종 냠네 가디 제나 소소마데 수수 로라야 다 담보지 따오라 와 로디 간디 그노지 간디 왜 따지 말라 다 수수고 제왕 남매가 제당 저당 선단데 수수 이와 제가 되는 마보 땅도 연구를 해서 가디 제와이나라 3년 제와 아니 제 간디 제와 어디에 다 간디 제와나는 간지 든지 이와 제가 되는 연구를 해서 와
간디 제와
또 간디 제와이나 3대와이나 근데 뭐 마대위 값에 수수 끊어지고 갑래야 아니 딱 교와 가는 주에는 3대야란 주고요나 간디 제야란 주고요나 아니 끊어지고 갈 수수 삼아씩 따서 말 아니 딱 교와 제가 왔는데 아니 뭐 모양 걸 해서 수수 삼아 따오시라.
So when you sit down, when you sit down to do your practice or do you do the retreat about the things that you have done in your life, right? And then you think that, oh, so many things that you have done, you should not have done. I should not have done those things. And so you feel regret, for having done those things.
다 된대 영화데 가르치는 아니 수수 제왕 말라 담라 도마 수수 조보 수수 개개 배자투사 개개 원슈가 된다고 담못 갈라야 다 애사지네. 아니 땅 어디 마치 그치 뭐지 그래서 대쇼네 아니 아주 조보 사원도 라마 사원이 냐나 님의 파이유네 양 싸워들이야 아니 수수다 매지 계시지 아니 응마대 양치 그러 카타야로 재미시야로 된제 뭐 제자위다 내외인 버려서
And so when that happens, like the moment you sit down and then you find so many things that you have regret towards or despair, right? And then that is the weapon, that is the result of the karma that you have created in the past by, it says, like flitting from one new friend of high status to another. So you find somebody with a high knowledge or status, or even like your guru, somebody who you find has a great knowledge that you want to make that person become your guru, right? And so you receive teachings from that person. And then the next time when next time again when you see somebody else, and then you find that person more impressive, more knowledgeable, and then you go to that person and abandon this person. So doing like that, So even with the teachers, you receive teaching from one teacher, and then later when you see a better teacher, then you go to that teacher and abandon this teacher, right? It's the same with their friends. Like you see a good friend, you make friend with somebody, and then when you see somebody even better, then you go to that person and then you abandon this friend like that. So this is shamelessly doing, going from one place, to other, one friend to another. Yeah, so this is the result of doing that in the past. So it says, from now on, I shall be serious about my friendship with everyone.
개개는 도관을 받아 출연 도관을 봐서 개개는 더 배나 개개는 나 지금 소수 주식이 깨닫지 못하고 싶어. 안에 지금 가서 근데 이거 나는 telling me 지와. 근데 깨닫지 않으면 가지고 소소직 남주 간염란에 제등이 나는 지금 동시 제한도 아니 되게 나가도 지금 말에 너도 제한도 아니 대주 몇년 동안도 어떤데 지금 다 되는 책이 그래서 어떤데 제가 다 벗어나요 그래서
And so this is really something that easily happens to us. For example, like different teachers, right? Different teachers teach teachings about the same teachings. They teach Buddha's teaching, right? The teacher, a very famous teacher, well-known teacher, teaches about the Buddhism, and also the teacher who you live with, right? You eat, and on the same table, live in the same house, that teacher also is giving the same teachings. And but because he's not famous, the other one is famous, and so therefore you tend to listen more, to the famous one. So when the famous one says that, you say, oh yeah, that's really true, that's really true. But when this teacher who you live with, and it says that, I'm not sure if he's right. Feel like that. And he said, I'm not sure if he really knows about it, and maybe I shouldn't listen to him and things like that. So thinking like that, and so not respecting the teacher in that way.
근데 드니 제 매게 제다 제 매년 말이었어. 다 수수 드니 누마테 마시고 드니 제와는 다 단다데 시온 좀 대 제와는 다 수수 소리 여와제 거는 뭐 모양 그랬어.
And so this is what one should not be doing, right? But one does that, and because of doing that, then later one feels regret, for doing that.
그래서 출연 동안을 받아 다 출연 지금 가서 레전드 신예대는 저와 뭐 떠봐. 아니 지금 내주들 곳이나 다때도 지금 가서나 남들도 오셨어. 요나도 오래 사실은 문제 왔어. 당 오늘 지금 도바 첨부 해야지. 아니 샤자 첨부 해야 돼. 아니 회사에서 제루세 어떻게 곧 땅하지 않고도 직행해 주나 가오셔야 돼. 다 저는 때 노래도 그랬어.
And so that's in terms of the teacher. So and then in terms of the teaching, again, so there says the common teachings, and then the special teachings. The common teachings, like teachings on karmic law of cause and effect, teachings on precious and rebirth, death and impermanence, and so forth. So when you listen to those teachings, those are just the regular normal teachings. I've heard them so many times, So no point hearing them again and again, something like that. But then when you say, maybe I should receive, a special teaching on the Mahamudra, or special teaching on a great completion stage, and so forth. So thinking about that, so considering those teachings higher and these teachings are lower, thinking like that, is not so not good also. And so later you will feel that because without this you can't practice that. So this is very important. The death and impermanence, precious and rebirth, all these are very important before you can do any of the higher or special practices, right? And so if you haven't done them, then there's no way you can do that. Even if you try to do that, it will not be good. So then later you will feel regret for not having done them.
그래서 근데 녀마들이 정말 들어와. 근데 라마지가 그런 놈말 다 때려 지랑기 라마 제기인다 지랑기 예담 제기 있어. 근데 그 때문에 다 예담 라마 그대는 제다. 다 예담 제기고도 그 예담 제기 나와랬어. 근데 라마 매병은 예담 세 미요 말했어. 근데 라마 그랬다 예담 제하라 말했어.
So also like you might have heard the story of Naropa, when his teacher Tilopa told him, asked him, do you want to see your teacher or you want to see the deity? And then he thought, I've been seeing teacher every day. Maybe I should ask, maybe I should see the deity. So he said, yeah, I want to see the deity. And then the teacher said, there's no deity without the teacher. There's no deity without teacher, and the deity comes from teacher. So and then so he he didn't get to see the teacher. I mean deity. Of course, no, there's no deity, and he didn't even see the teacher also.
어떻게 인자 가르나. 어떤 간소 시지엘 라버다 시지도 때 용도 와서 죽게다 잘라라. 라마게다 잘라라. 이는 지 고하니가 막고 죽대와. 근데 주 시험하고 간좀 주시오. 사님 너무 많으시죠. 너무 많아서 되네.
So many people do that, right? They all go after the famous ones, right? The famous teachers. So there's a famous teacher giving such and such high teachings, then they all run after that. And then without even knowing, or maybe even if you know that you take all these high teachings, which comes with the commitments, right? And then you are given a commitment to do this and that practice, and you're not able to do that, then you end up creating a lot more negative karma by not keeping the precepts or commitments. And so whatever the teacher teaches, you should listen to that with respect. If the teacher teaches about death and impermanence, then you should listen to that. And if the teacher teaches about great completion stage, then you can listen to that. So if you think that he's just teaching about death and impermanence, which I have so many times, it's no point hearing that. If you think like that, then that's wrong to think.
어떤 데다 가르나 같이 다 개개 되게 안에 소소고지 안에 로단 템베기 가서 딱 말라고 그러나 랍거리스들 다 대라니야데 수도라 개발도 책을 해들어.
So the teacher teaches with with the knowledge, with the understanding, and according to your understanding, and thinking whatever will be most beneficial for you, and so therefore it's good for you to listen to that.
데다 같이 다 산도셔야 말해서 같이 야사셔야 말해서 다 송도 왔으니라. 지 추사와시도 경에사와시네 같이 쉬어지체. 근데 수준 남빈nhóm의 제대도 건 도면을 보셨잖아. 아니 남쪽에게라 지금 도면을 보셨잖아. 다 중수소라 그래서 그러.
So you shouldn't have like this kind of flickering mind, towards the teachers, So when you first meet with this teacher, then you show so much interest, so crazy about that, and then you listen for a little while. Then after that, when you see a different one, then you lose interest in this one, and then you go after another one. Shouldn't do like that.
나도 맨날 내가시거나 매대 직전에 그 아서치워는 미팅이 어떻게 말아왔어. 때모셔 어떻게 말아왔더니 때모셔 거 그러왔어.
So also same with the job, if you do like that, then you strive so much, you make so much effort at the beginning, and you show so much interest in that, but then when you see something else, you go into that and you just lose interest in this, then people will not trust you, right? So they will say, oh, you're not a reliable person, you're not stable, you're not reliable, and then they will not trust you.
근데 제기가 추다 개개는 제와게 말 가지는 제와마다 있는 소수 개선도 가고 말 대해서 때 맞으려 그래.
Bother the Dharma, but it is bad for yourself.
오케이. 근데 단 되게 배셔되게 에사 맞이해서 놀라 그랬어. 가리 지 추다 지도 샤워거든. 에사시라 맞이해서 에사 뭐지나 슈마처럼 그 되게 내서 하고서만 전 요지고 시거든. 치다 그랬어.
And so so you shouldn't be very fickle-minded about these teachings and the teachers. I don't know if that's the right term, but what it means is that showing interest at the beginning and then losing interest very soon. So I shouldn't be like that. Yeah.
Or not only Dharma, everything, however your friends, families, co-workers, everyone, if you do that, then you lose your moral. Then we talk too many things. Then we stop here, okay? Then if you have question, maybe give one or two questions. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
Not when it says if you feel regret after you sit and do practice. I mean, when you sit to do practice and you feel regret about your past negative actions, you said that that's a wheel of sharp weapon you're turning upon you. It doesn't. To me, it doesn't seem like that would be because that's a positive thing to have. The regret is a good thing. My translation is actually different. It says if after having done the virtue you experience regret and you think that the virtue of practice will not have the result without the effect, then that's. I think the translation is a little. It says after we've already done the virtue, if we doubt the effects, then that's the wheel of sharp weapons we're turning because of having been fickle in our practices before.
거의 줘봤어야 돼. 시당 가서 줘봤게 봐이나. 당연히 디차딩무드는 줘봤게 봤는데 야보라스. 텔라도 때는 가서 독자 찍고 하면 왔어. 랭한 천사를 걸었을 때 나라 캔서도 왔어. 그런 게 시다 기주로들 소속이 개와쳐봐체. 개와쳐봐도 줘봤게 봤는데 독자라. 내려 납셨어.
대말 대조 노래. 대전한테 대지만 노래했으나 주마대 가능한 요지 먹고 제거 그러서. 요제거 영화대 소수 노루치하다 저랬다. 근데 저는 요제 마고한테 제거 그랬어. 근데 요제한테 두자로 돌아가려고 말했는데 요제 마고 제거 그랬어.
So
저는 제마도 노래했어.
So if you did the things right, you'll not have that regret, right? That's what you want. So when you have regret, that means you did something wrong, right? So wouldn't it be better not to have that regret at all, right? Rather than doing something wrong and then later have regret, then say, oh, that's good.
Not like
You
that.
understand? May I see the difference? So yeah, of course, once you have already done, and then you feel bad about that later, that's good. But wouldn't it be better if you didn't have to feel that at all? That's what it means. So you don't have to feel that at all. That's much better, right? That's what you should be doing. So let's say I created negative karma, and then later I feel bad, and then I engage in the practice of purification, and which is good. But wouldn't it be better if I didn't do bad at all, right? So later I feel bad is because of the bad I did now, right? And so that feeling is because of doing that. So you should do the things that will not make you regret in the future. Right? Just like that. So that's what it means.
Okay.
That feeling you get after having done it.
Yeah. So do the things that will make you not get regret later. Make sure that you do the things that will not make you regret later.
Okay.
So later when you get a regret is because of, of course when you get regret, it's not good feeling, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the 4 opponent powers, so that's also a result of negative karma, having the regret.
So maybe it's putting it in a different way. So that's good, So if you have done bad, then you feel bad about it, So that's good, right? So you got a ticket for driving fast, right? So I shouldn't have driven fast, So that was so bad. I got a ticket now because of. So that bad feeling that you got ticket, thinking that you felt is because of. So you shouldn't have done that, So is that good or bad? That's bad, right? That feeling is bad, right? So of course, in terms of the practice of purification, we're thinking about the negative karma we have done, right? So the here feeling of regret, is the bad feeling that we get, when we have done something wrong, something bad, or something wrong, right? And we should say, I shouldn't have done that. And so anything like, eating of food, small things like, in terms of the purification practice, yes, that's different, But just having regret in general is not a good feeling. And so that bad feeling is because of that. So you shouldn't do the things that will make you regret in the future.
So that feeling that leads to the regret, that's
Yeah.
the bad part.
Oh yes, that feeling that you get at that time when you feel regret, you feel that, I shouldn't have done that. And now, why? Because you feel bad now, right? For having done that. So that bad feeling came from that, So that bad feeling is called regret, right? That bad feeling is called regret. So that bad feeling of regret came from that thing that you did. In here is saying like by, discriminating the teachings, discriminating the teachers, friends, and so forth, like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My question was now, to me it's almost more guilt because guilt makes you freeze you in place. So that's kind of how I interpret it. But now you're sitting there and you have all this guilt and you can't get the really studying. I mean, to me, you kind of just push through because otherwise you give in to the guilt and then you don't do anything. So it's hard, but is the cure then to just make yourself do it, make yourself study, which is almost forcing it. You don't want to do it. You feel so guilty, you stop. And now you just, is it, say a mantra, start with, think Vajrasattva, do kind of force, get yourself to go back to your basics. Is that how you do it? Because it's okay, you know why you're there, but you're there.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get out of there?
That's true, yeah, that's correct. This is talk about, the teacher in Dharma, I think so, the most important. If you didn't do bad things in the teacher in Dharma, then you don't have then you check about us.
So when you feel that guilt, or regret, you feel guilt, and because you think guilt is something that you feel like, that's the wrong thing that you did, right? You feel guilty for that. And so once you have that guilt feeling, and then you engage in the practice. I should not have abandoned that teacher, but I did that. That was so bad. And now, in order to purify that negative karma of having abandoned the teacher, I'm going to do this practice. Of course, yeah, that leads good, to the good things to do. But if you didn't have to do that at all, that would be much better.
ngandro karin jo ga jida na ma chela ta de cha che da tumu so ko wan so ni en nyuma mo ke war na ta ngandro ngatni ta ti wan da mo chimba is ta chimba no ro la no ta nga mo chimba ta pe sa so ngandro jo che ga was ta tenin jo che ga se ma chi wa yo ma ti wan da chimba de so so ko was.
So in terms of that, regret, that you need in the practice of the purification, that's very important, because if you don't have that, then you will not feel bad for what you have done, right? So, so you have already done it. You have already done it, and so because of that, you're going to get not necessarily that you have to experience the result now. You'll be experiencing that result in the future, right? So then you get scared of that result that you're going to experience in the future. And so, oh, I shouldn't have done that, So that was bad. So when you think like that, then you will not do that again in the future. So therefore, that feeling of guilt or regret is good, And so when you think about that, like, oh, attachment is bad, anger is bad, ignorance is bad. I should not have got angry. I shouldn't have been so attached and so forth. So when you think like that, then that will help you not to have that kind of attachment or anger in the future. So therefore, that kind of anger, that kind of feeling guilty or regret is very good.
So that's why you study this, so that you know when you get that feeling, oh, now I know why, and so because you know why, it's easier to get going again.
Yeah, rather, 하고 나타내서
now we study, we understand, then we easy to stop. Before we don't know, we do a lot of mistakes. Okay, thank you. Now we stop here. Thank you. Okay, chanting master, are you sitting there? Chanting master.
Page 39. Sashi Poki Jungshing Mejo Trabri Rabling Ji Nidegyen Padi Sangye From my two collections, vast the space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, I have become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds so samaya is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, held in your loving compassion for all my life's minutiae, may I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhists by practicing. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion from the minds of all beings. With the points of the path as I have discerned them, may I uphold Buddhist teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet